The original Washington Hotel, built about 1870 as a residence for Panama Railroad Company employees, differed very little from several other quarters buildings in the same area, all of which were named for United States presidents. Originally a two-story building, the old Washington Hotel was increased considerably in size about 1905 when a third floor was added. In 1908, the Washington was taken over by the Isthmian Canal Commission, and in May 1910, sleeping accommodations there were opened to the public. The lack of suitable hotel accommodations in the vicinity of the Atlantic terminus of the canal was brought to the attention of President William Howard Taft when he spent 3 days on the Isthmus, in November 1910, and he subsequently authorized the construction of a suitable fireproof hotel on the site of the old Washington. The hotel was to be built by the Panama Railroad, both to supply the need for hotel facilities and as a source of revenue. Taft specified that it would be built in Spanish colonial style modified to fit local conditions, would be located on Colon Beach, and would cost no more than $500,000. The architects chosen by the president were Graham, Goodhue, and Ferguson of New York, who were then engaged in work at the United States Military Academy at West Point. Mr. Goodhue, in charge of the construction, had specialized in Spanish architecture. The president's belief in the architectural skill of this firm was justified by at least one well-known architect who visited the hotel in later years. The old Washington Hotel was moved across the street to make way for construction of the new hotel and remained in service in its new location, by Christ Church by the Sea, until March 23, 1913, when the present Hotel Washington was formally opened to the public. The old structure was razed in the early 1930s. Known to several generations of Canal Zone residents, especially during the first half of the 20th century, who have vacationed, partied, dined, and married there, the Washington Hotel also counts among its acquaintances guests from all over the world who have stopped there since the original hotel was opened to the public in 1910. The first guest of the new hotel registered on a date that might be considered unfortunate, March 13, 1913, but fortune had smiled broadly on Vincent Astor, the young man who supplied the first signature. About a year before he had inherited the largest sum of money in American history when he became head of the American House of Astor. Other famous names which dot the hotel's register include David Lloyd George, former British Prime Minister, Will Rogers, President Warren G. Harding, Edward Arnold, Bob Hope, Al Jolson, and many other movie star members of the United States troops who entertained troops in the Canal Zone during World War II. On January 1954, another chapter in the history of the stately-looking, palm-surrounded big building facing the Caribbean and was leased to the firm of Mata Investments. The previous month, Arturo Mata, representing the Five Brother Company, signed a lease for the hotel and a contract for its management. Governor Saybold, in his capacity as president of the Panama Canal Company, signed for the company. In a statement issued at the time, Mr. Mata expressed the hope that the Atlantic side community would use the hotel's facilities and make it their own center to an even greater extent than they have in the past. The name of the hotel was not changed, however. Local humorists dubbed it the Motel Washington, which is as bad a pun as anyone ever heard. Unfortunately, the lease did not last. Mata Investments stated that they were in a business with which they were not familiar. Pursuant to the 1955 Treaty and Memorandum, the Washington Hotel belonged to the Panama Canal Company until 1957, when it was ceded to the Panamanian government. Years later it was privatized. Nowadays, the new Washington Hotel is located near the monument to Christopher Columbus, Free Zone, Gate Unlocks, 2000 Mall, Gallia Island Marine Education Center, bars, parks, and restaurants.